Hello there, my name's Albert Tenuta. I'm the Ontario Field Crop Pathologist with the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs based out of Ridgetown, Ontario. My role is looking at diseases. I love field crop diseases. One of my favorites is soybean cyst nematode, management and education. So when it comes to soybean cyst nematode, it's been a challenge. It's been our biggest challenge in soybean production in Ontario since 1988 and even earlier than that. It wasn't known until 1988 in the Chatham-Kent area, and since then we've seen it expand throughout Ontario. Most soybean producing areas of the province have soybean cyst nematode. So when it comes to soybean cyst nematode and yield loss, it can range from very low levels to very high levels. So in many cases, you may not even be aware of losses of soybean cyst nematode by the time we start seeing any visual symptoms. And I'm talking about stunted plants, the rows not filling in like we've got here, and that we're approaching that 25% or more yield loss. So when it comes to soybean cyst nematode management, there's 4 things to consider. Planting resistant varieties, planting different sources of resistance within those varieties, whether it's a PI 88788 Peking, soil sampling, scouting to find out if you've got soybean cyst nematode or what the populations are. Crop rotation, using crops other than soybeans or edible beans, wheat, corn, etc. as well. And then ultimately a new tool that we have in the toolbox, the use of nematicide seed treatments. So when it comes to soybean cyst nematode, we know the symptoms of cyst nematode. We know stunted plants, uneven growth, the cysts on the roots, those small lemon-shaped white to yellow to brown cysts that we see, those females on the cysts, on the roots as well. But one other contribution or another aspect of soybean cyst nematode infection is sudden death syndrome. And we see this often. In many cases, you may not even know you have soybean cyst nematode until you see the sudden death syndrome symptoms that we're seeing on this plant here. And it starts off with small, fine yellow or chlorotic spots. Those start to coalesce or join together, and what you will end up with is this yellowing and necrosis, this browning between the veins. The veins will stay green, the leaves will start to curl, and eventually those petioles will fall off. So the leaves will fall off. This is very typical of sudden death syndrome and is a good indication that you've got a soybean cyst nematode population. By delaying the symptoms of sudden death syndrome, even those 2 or 3 weeks, that means extra yield. That means that we can reduce the losses that we see and ultimately means more bushels for you.